Roads? It's the Ernest Hancock Show. Where we're going, there aren't any roads.
Oh, we're going to just supply you with some information. That's the mission here. Uncovering the secrets, exposing the lies. You know, day after tomorrow, Wednesday, I have a couple of guests on, or each hour I have some people involved in the protests in Egypt. Now, I want to get a good beat on this thing. Now, one of them, I'm going to have to help me out with the names. Galda Talhami is a professor emeritus at the Department of Politics at Lake Forest College. And one of her books, The Mobilization of Muslim Women in Egypt. And what she's saying is these demonstrations were not staged by the Muslim Brotherhood, but they were spontaneous outbreaks by economically and politically marginalized youths and secular elements. Now, this is what my take on this thing is, Glenn. It's like you want to have a worldwide government. You know, you got this worldwide whatever currency government, we rule you, you got to be in the club kind of thing. Well, guess what you get? You get a worldwide revolution. And I'm going to help because I can. And, you know, the next gentleman I'll have on, his name is Amin Mahmoud. And his whole thing is he's going, you know, they have the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, has a statement out where she says she reiterated her support of Mubarak again when she indicated that his government is capable of reform. So I'm going, okay. So as this starts to spiral down here in the United States, Glenn, are we really a world having the same problems with the same people and entities? Or is it different? Are we compartmentalized? You know, what do you think's going on a worldwide basis?
Oh, I think to a major extent, it's the same people and the same problems. You know, I mean, the Fed, the International Monetary Fund. Let's talk for a second. We've heard you talk a lot in the past few shows about neoliberalism and the economic hitmen. And have you ever had John Perkins on your show?
Several times. He and I have become friends.
Right. Well, this is how it works. I mean, Perkins would go around to different countries around the world. He worked for Bechtel, which is a major corporation, and he would basically go in and say he'd go to Ernie's country, and he'd say, Ernie, you guys need a superhighway. And even though you don't have any cars to drive on, people don't have any cars, we need to build you a superhighway. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Goldman Sachs loan you $2 billion so that you can pay us to build the superhighway, and then we'll give you like $500 million. And, of course, what would happen then is it's a good deal for the rulers of the country. So Bechtel would build the deal, Goldman Sachs make a loan, then they couldn't pay it back. So then the International Monetary Fund would come in, they would cover the loan, and then they would basically assume a major amount of control in the country. Of course, Goldman Sachs gets paid, the ruler of the country gets paid, Bechtel gets paid, but then the people of the country are burdened with debt. In a lot of cases, they use eminent domain to take their land or whatever. And that's what's happened all around the world. That's also what happened in Egypt with Anwar Sadat and the neoliberalization of their economy. I don't like that term. I think there's much better terms. Neo-mercantilism would be one. Corporatism would be one. Fascism would probably be a really good term. So, yeah, I think to some extent anyway, it's the same people and the causing the same problems around the world.
I think it was WikiLeaks, a lot of the documents that, like I talked to this professor from Kent State Friday. He was going, WikiLeaks, all it did is just confirm what we already knew. And I'm going, yeah. I mean, you think there's a bunch of people that got made tax slaves that are kind of like thinking the exact same thing? So I'm sure it played into it. And John Perkins, the author of The Economic Hitman, We had him on Charles' show at least once or twice. Charles kind of took him to task on some accuracy on a couple of little things. He kind of had some literary license in there, but on the whole, it was an accurate depiction of what goes on.
And then also Perkins is his conclusions, and he's a bit of a socialist, so I don't agree with his conclusions, but of course he, like you said, he did some of the things that he talks about in the book. So as far as the process, I think it's relatively
well. That's the point that I wanted to make. Is over the years, I've had him on this show since I've been here at these studios at least 2 or 3 times, and over the years, when it comes up, and I think it's appropriate to have him on, which it probably do again. I'll get Sierra on it. What happens is it's as much as he tries to spread his rhetoric, as we're trying to infect him. And what has happened over the time is that I think he's become more and more understanding, if not an advocate of libertarian philosophy. And I'm going, John, man, you're killing me. Because what he was trying to do was purge his soul of being one of the bad guys doing this very thing. And he's like, oh, no, the U.S. government and the American taxpayer should do good things with, our influence and control over these people. And I'm going, did it ever cross your mind to stop trying to influence and control them? I mean, is that even an option, So as time has gone on, I think he has been infected by our philosophy. And as time has gone on through the Ron Paul Revolution days and 2008 election cycle and recent things that are coming out, by being exposed to the kind of philosophy that you and I espouse, it's, how do you unlearn the truth? It's affected him in his, subsequent interviews, and he's really starting to come around. And if you can get somebody as, and he wears this liberal economic kind of mantle as trying to make up for the neoconishness of his past actions. And what he really needs to understand is kind of like Jon Stewart on The Daily Show was talking about MSNBC coming out in a counter to Fox. Well, we'll just be liberal as opposed to just not being full of BS. I mean, and he started taking him to task on that. Not like Jon Stewart's any, libertarian bastion, but, the whole concept of just telling the truth has an enormous impact instead of just trying to, counter the scale in this neocon versus liberal mentality, because really you're just on the other side of the same coin, on the same side of the seesaw. You're still trying to control and economically and socially engineer people. Just stop. So my question to you is, as this becomes more and more aware, certainly with WikiLeaks, bringing out just exactly how tied we are with all these regimes and so on, how do you think, poor people in poor countries are going to be manifesting this? Is it going to be a whole bunch of Egypts and Tunisias, or are they just going to what? I have no idea. What do you think?
I have no idea either. I think, of course, there's going to be a lot of anger. The frustration and the underlying anger will probably come to the surface. I just hope that, as you say, as we often see here, that it isn't diverted into something that's not constructive. And people that have their own agenda aren't able to assume power just by tapping into that frustration and anger.
Oh, that's
hopefully people can recognize the real problem.
Now, that's a good point. When we come back, we're going to, have Glenn tell us about what's constructive behavior. What should we be doing? I don't know, philosophy of liberty in Arabic, maybe? I don't know. We'll talk about it when we come back here on Declare Your Independence with Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. Citizen.